where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
So talk about how your relationships change and what you learned about each other.
Well, Armstrong, the one thing that I was worried about is that we had been such a close-knit family growing up. My wife and I, usually when we volunteer, one of us volunteers in the community to do something. The other one will be right there beside the other assisting, and that's the way we've always been. And we stayed involved with the community here in Madison, Alabama, and our church, Asbury United Methodist, for many years. And one of the things that we really enjoyed doing from 2000 to 2010 was being involved with the youth program, both at the local schools and at our church. And what I mean by schools is we would volunteer to help out. She would volunteer behind the counter at the front desk, and I would volunteer in the sports area. And that was just our life. But one of the things that I mentioned that I was a little bit nervous about is that once the kids graduated high school and then got into college and then started getting married, what would we do as a couple to redefine ourselves and to refocus on each other? Because, you know, oftentimes you get so busy with life, career, and raising kids that you actually grow apart as a couple. And I'd actually mused to myself, you know, what are we going to do to become a couple again? And it turns out that my heart tragedy, if you will, the health issue that I went through, drew us back together. And I think now we are just like we started off as high school sweethearts, and we're just as close as we were today. We are just as close today as we were back then in the 80s when we first met.
Isn't that a blessing? Tell us more about your book. Go through more of your book and share it with our audience.
I would love to. So, Prayer and Grace, My Journey to a New Heart. I start off by giving a little bit of a background about Cindy and I and the family and the girls and what we're all involved in. And I also talk about the projects and the challenges that I'm having both in the community and at work. And then I go into pretty much the story of how my failing heart, how I was made it day to day with a failing heart, and then the remarkable event that happened when I was qualified for a transplant and within 2 months received a telephone call that a donor heart was available, and went to the hospital. My wife and I drove down in the most peaceful, calm way. I was in surgery for about 24 hours due to some complications that happened during surgery. I woke up and was out of the hospital within 5 days, and within 3 months, I had run a 5K race, the Cotton Row race here that's held on Memorial Day in Huntsville with my 80-year-old dad.
Wow. What a story.
Since then, I've run 2 or 3 more races. I do that more, I think, today, not because I'm a serious runner, quite honestly, but it's really just to show people that no matter what you face, through prayer and tenacity, you can get through. And I know that there's probably listeners out there that have may have had heart problems, may have had an organ transplant, may have all kinds of issues that they're dealing with in life, be it relationships or work or kids that have gone astray, just whatever the issue is. And my message to them is you can look at my example and say, hey, if he can navigate what happened to him through prayer successfully, maybe I should give that a try. That's really what my message is. I'm just the object of the parable, if you will.
Which parable?
Well, the parable of a man who, during difficult times in life, turned to God in prayer and received His grace.
Yes, isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing? How has your faith strengthened?
Oh, it's as strong as it's ever been. And I think about in the book of Acts, we see Philip, and I was never given enough information, because I think if God at some point in time said, "Hey, Steve, that job's going to be fine, that project, all these projects are going to be fine, but your heart's going to fail and you're going to have to get a transplant, but don't worry, you're going to survive," I think I would have thrown myself into a panic, because I think that would have been too much information. And I think about the conversion of the Ethiopian in the Bible found in the book of Acts. Philip was just told by God, "Go south to the road." And then later he was told, "Follow alongside the chariot." And basically what happened afterwards was the gentleman inside, which was the head of state or a very important person, I can't remember, from Ethiopia, he actually read scripture to him and told him the story of the healing power of Jesus, and then ended up converting him on the spot. But the good Lord never told him, "Hey, you're going to go convert this man." He just told him, "You just need to walk there and follow along." And I think that that's what the Lord did for me. He just said, "Hey, these two things you're praying about right now, the worship center and your job, they're going to be okay." And then a little bit further along in my journey, he said, "There's going to be an organ failure." And he never told me it was going to be my organ failure. I actually got up from that prayer time message thinking that I need to be on the lookout for a friend who was going to have some problems. And then, unbelievably, this prayer time message actually prompted me to go talk to my pastor and go over the prayer time message with him. The last one that I received was, "You're going to write a book, and it's going to involve the pastors and the ministries of Asbury." And I actually thought that prayer time message was that I was supposed to get together with 5 pastors of our church, and we were going to write some book similar to Rick Warren's Purpose-Driven Church or something like that. And I actually talked to my pastor about that, and he really didn't think that that's what that message was about. And literally, I was halfway through writing the book, Prayer and Grace: My Journey to a New Heart, when I remembered that prayer time message.
So what is your profession now?
I'm a electrical engineer by education, and I'm a manufacturing and quality manager for Digium by occupation. So professional engineer, but pretty much a manufacturing and quality manager in my role that I play here at Digium.
How's that heart?
So really a technical background, indeed.
How's that heart holding up?
It's holding up fine. I feel great. I sometimes sound a little nervous and I get a little shaky, but it's more because of the drugs. The drugs that I have to take for anti-rejection are pretty powerful and potent, and they sometimes sometimes I'm visually shaking when I have to sign a document or something like that. But if that's all I have to deal with, I'm pretty happy with that, right?
Well, you know what? Obviously, there is a reason why you had to go through this. And
I'm sorry, I missed.
Obviously, there's a reason why you had to endure this path. There's a purpose for this in your life.
Yes, sir. I think, our Lord told stories about the kingdom in parables, and I think the reason why I'm sitting here talking to you and the reason why I'm still around is because He wanted me to tell my parable, the one about the man who, when faced difficult times, received His grace through prayer. And I think that that's the message. I'm supposed to be the one out talking about, hey, how do you expect to navigate life's challenges if you're not talking to me? And what I mean by me, I mean the good Lord. So it certainly isn't just about going through a heart transplant, because I think that, you and I probably both know, and the listeners out there, people that have gone through some sort of, organ transplant or some health issue and that type of thing. I don't think that that's all that this story is about.
Talk about when you had doubt, because obviously you're human.
Armstrong, I'm being completely honest with you. I never had doubt about the journey when I was going through it, but I will be honest with you. I had some doubt here recently because I just had to navigate my first rejection event When you have an organ transplant, you're taking medications to prevent rejection. Even though I had nearly a perfect match, they had actually taken me off the drugs a little bit too fast, or reduced the dosages a little bit too fast. And I had a rejection event here in the first quarter of 2013, and I have to admit, I felt abandoned at that point. I had some prayer time moments where it's like, Lord, why'd you get me through this? And then only to have me go into rejection and have, potentially die now. So I think that even if you have a very strong, spiritual life and walk, fear and doubt can get in there. And it literally took me 2 or 3 days to work through that and get my head screwed back on straight.
But you know what? You will always have those times that test you in your faith. Mm-hmm. You should welcome those times.
I think we would actually be. We wouldn't be honest with ourselves if we thought that we could just navigate everything and just be purely 100% faithful and 100% confident that everything is going to be fine. Yes, we will bump, but the thing is that we can't. Going through those events, you cannot turn your back and run away. You have to stay with it, continue to pray your way through it, and also seek the counsel of others. I found that I have some very close friends that are both professionals and clergy, and that you can confide in. I think it's important for every man or woman to have a close-knit group of 2 or 3 people that they can really rely on and bounce things off of. And even my wife is like I mentioned, she's the one that keeps me on the straight and narrow quite often.
Well, listen, I hope everyone goes out and buy your book, Prayer and Grace. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and have a great day.
You too.